Welcome once again to Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wiggin, and so glad that you are here tonight. Now, if you are catching us on the live feed, thank you very much for joining us. We'll do a round of shout outs here shortly. If you are catching us up on YouTube, thank you for joining us there as well. We hope you enjoy the content. If you do enjoy the content, do us a favor and go over and hit the like button and the subscribe button. And once you've done that, smash that bell. Let yourself know every time a new video comes in. We do a new video once a week, which is usually Train Tuesday, plus some bonus videos scattered throughout. So once again, welcome to Train Tuesday, and let's see who's joining us here tonight live on the live feed. I see Ron, Keegan, BN Green 1970, Chad, Jim, Joel, George, Ian, Frederick, just to name a few. These are some of the folks that are joining us tonight. We're going to be talking about Athearn. We're going to be talking about Athearn HO, Athearn N scale. We're going to be talking about Roundhouse, and I've got a special treat for you guys in the Genesis line, which is also going to be HO and N scale. So stick around for that. You're definitely going to want to see what I have in store for you there. So let's do one more round of shout outs. And I see Alco Steam, Glenn Powell, Williams is here, Joseph, Ramsey, Rob, Wordle, J.D. Boyd, Rodney, Jason, and let's see, John, Ramsey. A lot of people joining us here tonight. Let's see who else I've got. I've got Butch, Jackie, Reading Area Rail Fan, and Jason, Tim, and Jerry, and DG Model Works is in the house. So welcome everyone to the show. So glad you could join us here tonight. Let's get started with our first row of items. We're going to start an HO scale tonight. And we are going to be talking containers. So it's been a little bit since we've offered the 20-foot containers. We wanted to offer these once again. And these guys are sure to be something that you're going to want to add to your fleet. Let's get some other guys up here. I want to show you guys what we're actually going to be running for this month. Now, everything that I'm showing you, you have until just Friday. That's the 24th. That's the end of this week. It's only a few more days to place your pre-orders on anything that we've talked about on this show, as well as previous shows for the month of February. So don't miss out on these. Now, these are the Athearn 20-foot corrugated containers. Now, this one that I'm showing you, this round, we're just doing the containers. They're going to be in a 3-pack, so they're not going to include this chassis, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of what these look like since we haven't really offered these in a while. It's been a bit. So let's talk about what we're going to be offering this month. And these are all roughly within the 1990s era. So the first one that we've got here, this is container transport. It has 3 road numbers in it. Now, we're just offering these in 3-packs. They are just containers, and they're just in the 3-packs. Coming up next is K-Line. Of course, this is one that you've probably seen multiple times. It's also a very popular container brand that we've sold in the past, so we wanted to offer that to you once again. So here we have the Hyundai or Hyundai, depending on how you want to pronounce it. This is a 3-pack. Our next one here in the lineup here, this is Hong Kong Islands, HKI, as you can see here. Hong Kong Islands, and this is going to be a 3-pack. And then coming up next is ITEL. And one we haven't offered in quite a while. Here's the ITEL one. SSI. It's been a bit since we've offered this guy here. And then last but not least, we have the Trans Freight Lines 3-pack. So again, everything that I showed you, these are 20-foot containers. They're available in a 3-pack. You have until Friday to order these. Some of the features on these guys, this time they're all new road numbers. So if you had any of these in the past, you can be sure that they're not going to have the same road numbers. So you can actually add to your fleet. You don't have to worry about picking up any duplicates. Of course, they're fully assembled and they're easily stackable, and each container is individually numbered. Now, it's hard to really convey how detailed these guys are with the artwork, but trust me, all of the artwork that is included on these is just absolutely amazing. Now, these come, like I said, in a 3-pack, and they are going to retail for $39.99. Contact your dealer for your price. So coming up next, a little bit something different. We're going to segue over to Roundhouse, but I want you N scale guys to pay attention, because you N scale guys are going to have the same roads as the Roundhouse. Now, it's been a while since Roundhouse has had the PS1s, and so I actually didn't have a picture to show you, but you N scale guys, I do have a picture of the PS1s in N scale, so you guys get an idea just how detailed these models are. Now, a little background on these. The Pullman Standard built many freight cars over the years, but it's probably best known for its line of standardized freight designs, such as the PS1 boxcar. Now, the boxcar, of course, is considered to be one of the most versatile since it can carry most loads. Boxcars have sliding doors of various size and operation, and some include end doors and adjustable bulkheads to load very large items. I mean, the boxcar has been around since basically the dawn of railroading itself. While they've kind of fallen a little bit out of favor in the last few years due to containers, they are still popularly used on short lines as well as other industrial lines. So they're definitely not going away anytime too soon. Now, we're offering these PS1s in both the Roundhouse HO and the N-scale Athearn line. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the road names that we're offering with both of those, and then we're going to talk about the features of each one. Now, before I go on, back to the N-scale car here. This was announced in April of 2020. It was shipped in 21. This is a really nicely detailed car for N-scale. Now, it's not Genesis, so it's not going to have the air hose or the cut levers, but you're still going to have the separately applied metal etched roof walk. And even though it is molded on detail, it's really a nice crisp detail. For N-scale, these are really nice cars. Now, we'll talk about the features of these cars in just a moment. So coming up first, and what we're announcing, is the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy. Now, everything that I'm showing you, both in N-scale and HO, they're available in 2 separate road numbers. So if you like these CB and Q ones, and you really should, these are available with 2 different road numbers. Now, this is based on a late 1960s into the 70s. Now, some of you guys may be asking, why would you say the 70s? Wasn't Burlington Northern around in the 70s? Yes, they were. Now, while the motive power and probably the non-revenue rolling stock did get treated to a coat of Cascade Green, not everything overnight was painted Cascade Green. And these PS1s are a prime example of that. A lot of these lasted in their original Chinese red paint scheme as seen here, right up into the early 80s. So if you're modeling in either HO or N scale and you're modeling the late 60s into the early 80s, you can probably justify 1 or 2 of these on your railroad. Staying somewhat close to home, next is Milwaukee Road. Now, of course, this is going to be available in 2 different road numbers as well. This is based on a 1970s paint scheme. So next we've got the Pennsylvania Railroad. This is 1950s era. This would be earlier, 1950s. Some of these would last into the Penn Central era, albeit pretty banged up, pretty beat up, and of course they would probably have new reporting marks. But if you really wanted to get these into the 70s, you could probably justify that. Coming up next is the Southern Pacific. Southern Pacific here is decorated for a car for the 1960s, and certainly this would last onward probably into the early 80s. These Western Pacific cars have always been popular. We wanted to bring these back again. Again, 2 different road numbers for both HO scale Roundhouse and scale Athearn. This is a 1970s paint scheme, and again, this is a really cool paint scheme. A lot of these would last right up until Union Pacific purchased the Western Pacific. And then last but not least, we have the Atlantic coastline. Now, the Atlantic coastline here that I'm showing you, this is based on a paint scheme from 1965. You can see the damage-free loading logo on the side, which was really common for this era of railroading. Atlantic coastline obviously was one of those ones to adopt that logo. This could be seen all throughout the 70s. Probably would have to do some research. In my experience, I haven't seen any in the early 1980s, but that does not mean they didn't exist in some form or another. So do your research on that one. But if you're definitely modeling the mid 60s on through the 70s, you'll want to add one of these to your fleet. Now let's talk a little bit about the features. We're going to start with Roundhouse first. Now remember, Roundhouse is our entry-level models. So they're going to feature more of the molded-on details. You're not going to see that with an Athearn or a Genesis. These are more of your traditional, easy-to-operate freight cars. Now, of course, they're all weighted to NMRA standards. They do include metal wheel sets. They're 33-inch wheel sets. They're all going to have McHenry scale knuckle spring couplers. And of course, what's really cool about these, even though they're Roundhouse, we don't spare any expense when it comes to the painting, the decoration, and the printing of these models. The printing of these models is so much better than what we had in the past on the old blue box models. It's much, much better. Now, if you're wondering what the minimum radius is on these, you can get by with an 18-inch radius on these. Individual MSRP on these is $29.99. Contact your dealer for your price. Now, going on to the Athearn N scale, again, remember, both the Roundhouse HO and the Athearn N scale, they're going to share the same roads and road numbers, but there's going to be some little bit different features. With the Athearn N scale ones, they're going to have see-through metal roof walks like I showed you earlier. The scale profile brake wheel is included. They're going to include roller bearing or Bettendorf trucks based on the prototype. They all include machined metal wheel sets, and I can tell you that those wheel sets will work on code 80, code 55, and code 40 track. Another nice feature about the N-scale cars is they have screw-mounted trucks, and the knuckle couplers are body-mounted. Now, of course, they're going to be highly detailed injection molded bodies. Like I said, they do have molded on details, but don't let that fool you. These guys are extremely detailed for what they are. They've also got really nice printing. I've actually got the Boston and Maine one that I showed at the beginning of the program, and I'm just amazed at how nicely the N numbers on the N panels are. It's certainly something I can't do with my eyes anymore. Now, minimum radius on these guys is 9 3/4. So for you modular guys, if you're into T-track, N-track, Fremo N, these are perfect for that. Likewise, if you got a club layout or a home layout and you're doing an operating session, these are perfect for that type of situation. All right, so before I go on to our little surprise, I'm going to go ahead and see what kind of questions that you guys might have about the containers, as well as the HO scale Roundhouse cars and the N scale Athearn cars. So let me go ahead and take a look at the comments in the chat section. Stephen Wagner wants to know, do they have body-mounted couplers? Yes, they do. That is one of the reasons why I purchased the Boston and Maine one a few years ago, is because my switching layout demands body-mounted couplers. Taugos do not do well in a switching layout, at least in my experience. All of those will have body-mounted couplers. In fact, most of the Athearn N scale and all of the Genesis N scale do feature body-mounted couplers. Yes, I figured that a lot of guys would think that's cool. That is a very cool paint scheme. It's very popular every time we run them. A lot of cheers for SP. Just going through to see if there's anything I may have missed, so bear with me for a second there. A lot of guys happy with the Milwaukee. Harold just kind of confirming what I was saying earlier. I missed those. Milwaukee Road model is nice. A lot of the Pennsylvania Railroad made it into the 70s under the Penn Central. Yeah, you got yourself a great weekend project. Do yourself a favor. Maybe you model early Conrail. Maybe you're Penn Central. Even BN, like I was talking about earlier. Just do a search online. Grab your cars. Grab some paint. Grab some decals. And you can have a really fun weathering project. And it's kind of neat to see some of these fallen flags with new reporting marks. It's a real easy project to do. You can do it in a weekend, and it really gives, when guys come over to operate on your layout, it kind of gives a little bit of a history of that car. It was a former Pennsylvania Railroad. Now it's a Penn Central, or now it's a Conrail. Yes, Glenn, I know you missed the blue box, but I gotta say it again. That ship has sailed. I personally miss Ford flathead V8s, but Ford will not get back to me on making those again. It's kind of the same thing here. The blue box kits, they are great. There's plenty of them out there to be found, but that ship has sailed. Joseph, I think I know what you're asking, so I'm going to throw you up there. Again, Roundhouse's accurate models, just not as detailed. I think your autocorrect maybe got you. I'm guilty of that myself. Yeah, exactly. Most of your Roundhouse models are going to be accurate. They're going to be, CB&Q really had that boxcar. They really had them in that numbering series. What you're not going to see is you're not going to see the cut levers. You're not going to see the air hoses. That's Genesis era. You're not going to see the separately applied grab irons. That's more of an Athearn thing. These are going to be more traditional models. They're just going to have molded on details. Now, that being said, for you guys that do miss the blue box, or for those guys that want to make your own ultimately detailed boxcar, these are a great canvas to start from. You can easily add one of these to your collection, strip them down, shave off the detail, and thank goodness there's a bunch of manufacturers that still do make detail parts on HO scale, and you can make a model just as good as a Genesis model with one of these. It just takes a little bit of time and effort. So they're not just for beginners. We are seeing a lot of guys buying these and kit bashing them for their own specific prototypes. Okay. Let's see. Jim, going to do any more runs of chassis for containers? I need them for my TOSC. Probably going to be doing some more of those. Not in this run, but probably in a future run sometime this year. One more question, and then I'm going to go on to our next. Yeah, Terry, that's exactly what we're trying to do. The Roundhouse line is perfect for, like what you're saying. We're trying to keep the price down on these. We realize that not everybody wants a Genesis car for every single industry, single thing on their layout. While there certainly is a market for that, we also realize there's a market for these cars, for what we talked about earlier. When we were at the Amherst show a couple of weeks ago, John showed all of the refinements that have happened to the F7 that's part of the Roundhouse line. And honestly, that locomotive got so much attention that it really, made us think, okay, yeah, Roundhouse definitely has, not just for the beginners, but for you guys that like to do kit bashing or do your own custom painting. And so that's why we're keeping these pretty simple. They're going to have just enough detail to satisfy those that buy these, or enough so that somebody that wants to kit bash them can. So we're trying to keep the cost down on these guys. And yes, Randall, you bring up a very good point. They're extremely durable cars. About once a year, I have a show that I do called RC Fest, where Horizon basically has an open house, and they let the public come in and they get to try stuff. They get to try flying an RC airplane or driving an RC truck. If they go to the Athearn booth, they get to actually operate one of our locomotives and do a quick switching job. Now, for that, I might use a Genesis locomotive, but for the freight cars, I use the Roundhouse cars because they're a lot more durable. I can pick them up quickly and not have to worry about little details getting snagged on my shirt and broken off. And, let's face it, we're dealing with the general public that have not possibly run model trains before. So these Roundhouse cars, I'm on to my second or third year with them, and they've been absolutely tough as nails. So good point. If you've got an operating session, And you might have some friends that are maybe not as delicate as you. You can definitely put these on the tracks and not worry about them. All right, now I promised you guys a surprise. And I wanted to circle back to this because we didn't really get to talk much about it. Apologize, it's really dry in the workshop tonight. And we're going to talk a little bit about Genesis right now. We're going to kind of recover Genesis. And this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. This is the Freight Car America Versa Coils. Now, we finally got some artwork up, and I wanted to share that with you guys tonight, give you a little bit more background on it. Maybe you missed the original Train Tuesday where we did talk about these. But here are some great first shots of these models. And let me show you the detail on these. Here's the underside of the cars. Now, I want you guys to realize these are not only just in HO, these are also available in N scale as well. Now, the model that we're showing here is based on an HO scale model. But look at the brake detail. Again, since you've got Genesis class, you're going to have your air hose, you're going to have your cut lever, you're going to have shelf couplers. And these are going to be available, like I said, in both HO and N scale. Here's the two models that we're actually going to produce in the first run. The phase 1 did not have a cover. We'll talk about that in a second. And then phase 2, of course, did have a cover. People are asking, are the hoods on the phase 2s, do they come off? Yes, they do. The loads, will they be available separately? Too early to say right now. And it's a possibility that if we get enough demand for these to be a separate item, we might offer them as such. Now, if you didn't know, and I'm going to leave that picture up there so you guys can check out the detail, but Versa coils are exactly what they advertise to be. They are versatile coil cars able to carry multiple coil sizes from 30 feet to 72 feet in easy-to-load trowels that you see there in that first car. The transverse trowel design is a departure from how steel coil cars were originally designed, with coils aligned longitudinally and held into place with movable bulkheads. Loading and unloading took more time, and the coils frequently incurred damage to their outer edges as they shifted forward and back from a train slack action. Now, the Versa coil, with its trowel design, increases efficiency and safety while holding coils of all sizes and weights. And originally, these cars were constructed under Johnstown American Corporation name, which was later, of course, rebranded as Freight Car America. So back to this picture, you know, your traditional coil cars, it looks like a flat car with two separate covers on top. And the way those coils were seated, if there was slack, those coils would move back and forth. And there would certainly be some waste if there was damage to the end pieces. As you can see here with the Versa coil, the way the trowel has been designed, these can accept different size coil loads. And as you can see, the ends aren't damaged in shipment. So it's a really neat freight car, and it's a relatively modern freight car. The cars that we're going to be talking about tonight are mainly from the early 2000s. Now, these cars are going to be available both, like I said, in Athearn Genesis N scale as well as HO. This run, you have a choice of 3 singles and 1 3-pack. Now, let me show you the artwork that we just released last Friday. Here's the first one. This is the Norfolk Southern car. This is a phase 2 body with removable hood. Now, again, we're going to be offering these as 3 different singles as well as a 3-pack. All of the road numbers are unique. Now, here's a phase 1. This is CP. They never had the covers. When we first showed the artwork for this, people were asking, where's the cover? Well, CP didn't have the cover. Just because of their specified needs for their loads, they did not require a cover. Again, this is a phase 1 based on a 2002 paint scheme. Here we have Northwestern Oklahoma Railroad. This is a mid-2000s Phase 2 body. And then last but not least, this is Mitsu Rail Corporation. Again, mid-2000s Phase 2 body with removable hoods. Now let's talk about some of the HO features. The Canadian Pacific will feature the Phase 1 body. They are not equipped with hoods, just like the artwork shows. But the Norfolk Southern, the Northwestern Oklahoma, and the Mitsu Rail Corporation, they're all Phase 2 bodies with removable hoods. They're all going to feature separate wire form grab irons, etched metal coupler platforms, 100-ton roller bearing trucks with animated rotating bearing caps, coupler lift bars, train line hoses, brake hoses, and hardware. Body-mounted McHenry operating scale knuckle couplers, and because of the metal wheel sets, they'll operate on all types of commercially available track. Minimum radius on these guys, 18 inches. They look better on a 22-inch radius, but they will operate just fine on an 18-inch radius. Now, individual, this is MSRP, so talk to your dealer to get your price. Individual on these, MSRP is $64.99. If you go to the 3-pack, you get a little bit of savings there. That is at $174.99. Now, N scale, guys, you are definitely not going to miss out as far as detail. You're going to have pretty much all the same details the HO scale guys have, including same thing. Canadian Pacific is going to be a Phase 1 without the hoods. Norfolk Southern, North Oklahoma, and Mitsu lines are all going to be Phase 2 with removable hoods. You're going to have screw-mounted 100-ton roller-bearing trucks, body-mounted McHenry lower shelf knuckle couplers, metal wheel sets with the RP25 contour. So again, you guys can operate this on your standard code 80, code 55, code 40, no issues whatsoever. These, of course, have been accurately painted, just like the HO scale guys. Our guys have been putting a ton of research into these. It's a brand new model. It's actually a model that a lot of modern guys have been asking for, so we definitely wanted to deliver that. Just like the HO scale guys, they are weighted to NMRA standards. And the minimum radius on these, not quite as low as you'd think. You can get by with a minimum radius of 11 inches. Now, keep in mind, these are Genesis cars. They're going to have scale overhang with the couplers, plus you've got air hoses and cut levers. So we really recommend a minimum radius of 11 inches. Radius that we think is optimum is at least 15 inches. So keep that in mind. Individual on these guys is $44.99, $124.99 for the 3-pack. Again, that is MSRP. Talk to your dealer for your price. So there you have it. I wanted to share that news with you guys because we just shared this artwork this past Friday. It's brand new, and really looking forward to offering these guys. Now you have, again, till Friday the 24th to place your pre-orders. All right, got some questions here. I'm going to go back a little bit. What time period does the Phase 1 CP car start? 2002. Or about 2002. Ron R says, the animated bearing cap sold me on this one. Yeah, the HO scale guys in Genesis, that's pretty standard. Unfortunately, N scale guys, you don't have that, but let's be honest, how many of us have eyes could see that? We could probably do it, but it would be more of a pain in the smaller scale than anything. But yes, in the HO scale, they are certainly something that we try to do. Brian's happy with our Versa coils. They primarily ship coiled steel, and I don't remember the whole story. This isn't really my era, but they are specialized. They can tend to haul bigger pieces of rolled steel than the traditional coil covers. The funny thing is a lot of the coil cover cars is relatively modern. In the 1960s, they weren't around. It wasn't until about the late 60s, early 70s, we started seeing coil cars specifically for, um, the metal industry. These came about in the early 2000s because of what we were talking about earlier. Not only could they accept different size rolls, but just the way that they're can move that trowel ensures that the end pieces of the metal don't get banged up in shipping. Forever DC says new NS coil cars being built in St. Catharines, an hour from me. That's cool. Eugene says 12-pack data, only three Pullman standard. Okay, so this is basically Eugene's Christmas list. So this is the point of the show where I tell you what you can do is go to our website, go to the contact us page, and scroll down to the bottom. You'll see the Athearn product suggestion email. And what you want to do is you want to hit that email and send us that email. Send us what you're talking about, because this is a great idea, Eugene. A lot of you guys have some great ideas, and our product development team wants to hear it. So go ahead and shoot that email out there. Now, last week, I had a rather jaded modeler say, well, nobody listens. I sent email after email, and you guys still haven't made this one switcher that was owned by one railroad company. Let's be honest. We're only going to do the ones that we know that there is a market for. A lot of people complain, you do a lot of BNSF, you do a lot of UP. Well, that's because a lot of people model BNSF and UP. We are a business. I have said in the past that we are modelers, but we are also a business. And in order for us to keep the lights on, we got to make sure that we're providing models that a wide majority of people want to buy. That being said, though, don't be offended if you don't get a response from our guys. They're super busy. They're taking that information, they're putting it into the files. It is not getting put into a circular file, trust me. And when the time comes for us to make a decision on a new model or new road names, we draw from that list. And we really do appreciate it. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys who have used that product suggestion email, because it really does make product development's job that much easier. Let's see. I've got time for one or two more questions. No March announcement hints for you today. I don't really have anything. PN Green 1970s saying, Jim, I modeled the 1970s in part because of bicentennial paint, so I got to ask, what is that caboose in the case over your left shoulder? Actually, in both scales, I modeled the 1970s for the same reason. That is my first caboose I ever got that started me on this journey of model railroading back in 1975. It's from a company that's no longer in business called AHM, and they made a train set like a lot of companies did, including Athearn, based on the Seaboard Coastline paint scheme. So that's just basically a toy from my past that got me started on this hobby. Bradley wants to know, and it's a question we were getting on social media, will you be selling the coil loads separately to use in other cars? At this time, Bradley, and everybody else that's interested, I don't know if we will be doing that. I don't think we're against it in any way, but there's a possibility we may offer that as a separate item to be ordered in the future. But right now, it's too early to say. Jason says, I lost my GP40-2 manual. How do I acquire a new copy? Perfect. Go to athearn.com, go to the Contact Us page. It's the same page that has the product development email, but above that, there is a help@athearn.com email. Now that goes to our service technicians. Let them know what you're looking for. In this case, you're looking for a manual for GP40-2. They can certainly get that for you. So like I said, go to athearn.com, contact us, and at the very top, you'll see a service email. Shoot them an email, and they will get something for you shortly. Joseph, any chance Athearn can place the build date on the boxes of the items so we know what era it belongs to? Excellent question. It is something we are working on. If you look at our announcements, sometimes you'll see this boxcar is appropriate for 1970 to 1980 or something of that nature. We are working on some new box art that will go in line with our new rebranding that we unveiled a year ago. And on the end, we are working on eras. So that is something that we're on. Here's a question I get daily, pretty much from every social media post. More N scale, please. Locomotives and rolling stock. John, we get a lot of guys that want to see some N scale, but we need to know exactly what you guys want. That's where the Athearn product suggestion email comes in, because we're doing a lot of N scale. Now, I hate to say it, some of those, I'm not seeing as much N scale love as I thought I'd see as a fellow N scaler. So let us know exactly what it is you're looking for. Now, this month alone, in this broadcast alone, we've talked about PS1 boxcars, which should be certainly applicable to any N-scale modeler, as well as a brand new model that's not available anywhere else. That's the Versa Coils and N-scale. So let us know exactly what it is you're looking for. And then when we get to the point where we're ready to add a new model to our design staff, we'll have a good idea what you N-scale guys want. All right, I've got time for one more question, and I'm going to let you guys get back to your modeling. Derek wants to know, do we have a customer phone number? No, we do not. There's a reason for that, and this is not a slight against you or anybody else with the same question. We do have an email. Our tech guys are part of a vast network of tech guys here at Horizon Hobby, and they are constantly have a lot on their plate. It's much easier for you to use that email, put down as much information as you can about the question you have or the tech service that you're looking to get. Now, that being said, if the technician does have some questions, by all means, in your email, put your phone number on there so they can reach out and talk to you. There are cases where we do need to get a little bit more information. That's easier. But the first point of contact is going to be that customer service email. So thanks for that question. All right. Daniel, I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say there. Why not make some suggestion by sending choice to everybody? That's kind of what we did with the email. Just go to the email and type something in there. It'll work. Trust me. All right. Well, Jason, I'm going to end with your question. N-scale VRS GP38s and SD70M-2s. We did the Vermont Rail SD70M-2s in HO. So yeah, maybe we'll do them in N-scale. It's a possibility. Remember, we've got N-scale guys on staff as well, so nothing is out of the realm of possibility. So with that, I want to let you guys get back to your layout. Remember, everything that we talked about today, you have until Friday the 24th to place your pre-orders. Talk to your dealer. If they're online, if you're lucky enough to have a brick and mortar near you, talk to your dealer. Go ahead and get those pre-orders in so you're not disappointed next year, because I guarantee you these Versa coils are going to go quickly. And again, only a few more days. It's hard to believe that March is almost here. So until I talk to you guys next time, I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, and above all, high greens. Good night, everyone.